Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a book review video. Now this book review video only has 4 books in it, not my usual like 6 or 7. And that's just because I read a really thick book this time. And then I only really read like 1 book that only took me a few days to read. So this book, let's start out with the big book that took up a majority of my time. And I did start this book like a couple days into the end of last month. This is called Fairy Tale. It's by Stephen King, and this is what it looks like. I will say that this book, it's about this boy, this teenager, who starts to help out this older man. He has an accident and he goes to take care of his German Shepherd, his old German Shepherd dog Radar. And he starts to fix up this man's house. And when the man comes back, he starts acting weird. He's like, I don't need, but when the old guy was in the hospital, he was like, you can't go and do this, you can't do this, you can't look in this room and that and this and that and stuff like that. And then in the process, the old man dies and leaves him, for some reason, his house and the safe deposit box and these tapes. And the old man tells him this story. And it's sort of like a fairy tale in a sense like that. And this, basically, he's not really who he says he is. And there's this place where you can put things on this hourglass item and you can turn back time. And the boy, the teenager, he really wants to bring Radar back to her younger self. And the whole book, well, most of the book, I was like, I hope nothing happens to this dog. I was more invested in the dog than I was in the characters in this book. And I won't tell you what happens with the dog, but I will say, like, it's not even halfway through the book when events start happening, and then when the event happens, you're like, okay, now I don't really care what happens in the rest of the book. Most of the book was more of like a world building kind of book where he's when that event happens, he gets captured and he's put in this jail where they're eating this disgusting stuff, and he's part of this group of people who, I don't know I forget what they called them. And this, the bad guys need like 11 of these people or creatures or whatever you want to call them. Because someone, like, this whole thing, there's this, sickness in this world called the grayness, I guess that's what they call it, or like the gray. And it's basically like everything is turning gray, the people are turning gray, and there's stuff wrong with them from the sickness and stuff like that. And towards the end of the book, he has to defeat this monster in order for things to go back sort of to how they were. And when that happens, it doesn't talk about what with this grayness, this gray disease, whatever you want to call it, if it went away or if it's curable now or anything like that. And the ending to the book, I felt like was just okay. Like, this is one of the books that I recently read by Stephen King, because this book came out 3 years ago. It was just okay. Like I said, like, once that event happened with the dog, whether the dog was okay or not, that was it. Like, you were just like, at least for me, I was just like, I don't care what happens anymore. Like, to be honest, I felt like the book could have been like maybe 200 pages shorter. Because I'm like, well, when that event happened, you're like, okay, the book should be over now. Like, he should go back to his world and be done. you know? Because that was the only thing that was the main objective until he got into that weird prison type of thing. So this book is called Cold Reading Murder. It's a Bridge to Death mystery. It's by R.J. Lee. This is what it looks like. I think this is like the third book in this series. I got this at Book Bingo. And it's about these people who the main character is teaching these odd set of characters how to play bridge so they can go into this country club, I guess, and play with these elite group of people so they can earn spots into this country club. And one of the women in this book, she's kind of like a fortune teller type of woman. Like, supposedly she can see into the future. And at their first bridge club group meeting, she ends up giving everyone there a cold reading, which just means it's just like random things she's talking to you about, basically. And most of the stuff, when the people would come back into the room, they'd say, oh my gosh, like, I don't know how she knew this was true, because I just started writing this book and nobody knows what this book is about except for me, and blah blah blah. Or this is about me and my mom's relationship because my mom's like a religious fanatic and stuff like that. Nobody really knows that about my mom, and blah blah blah, like all this stuff. And then the next day, I think it's the next day, the main character, what's her name? Wendy. She goes to this person's house and she's not alive anymore. And there's these twists of events in the book where it takes you on some like twisted storylines in the book, like with this one guy who was at the club meeting, works for the fortune teller girl. There's one where like there's this aunt in the book, but it's not really their aunt. And then the one thing that I will say is, like, usually when I read these mystery books, it's only one perspective. And in this book, you have to be careful because it switches from different characters' perspective. Like, it's not just Wendy and her trying to figure out what happened to this fortune teller woman. It's also the one guy, he goes around and does telegrams, but he sings them as part of this husband and wife franchise they have. I think it's like Party Palooza. He does that, and she had this vision about him, and he left, and nobody knows where he's at. And basically that point of view, there's a husband and wife point of view, Wendy's dad has a point of view. So it's like you could all of a sudden just start reading it, and then for some reason you're like, oh, this isn't that storyline. This is a whole different storyline, which I really didn't like in these books. I mean, James Patterson books usually do that, but this book, I was like, I really didn't like that in this book. And I think the reason why there was so many twists in the book was to keep the reader's attention, because it really wasn't that great of a series, or not a series, of a book in this series. And I never read a book in that series before, so maybe that's why. So this book is the first book in a set. It's Percy Jackson and the Olympians. It's the Chalice of the Gods. It's by Riordan. This is what it looks like. It's a shorter book. Basically, Percy Jackson and Annabeth are seniors now, and Percy wants to get into New Rome, that kind of university college for demigod children, and he can't without letters of recommendation from 3 different gods or goddesses. And they he can't go to the gods and ask them for these quests or whatever. They have to come to him. So there's this one god, and he's like a minor god, I guess, because I never heard of this god before. I don't even know how you say his name. I think it's like Ganymede. I think that's how you say his name. He's the god who has this chalice where the other gods drink out of it to become immortal, basically. And and there's a backstory behind it where Zeus thought he was attractive and made him immortal even though he didn't want to be immortal, and now he's stuck as this like eye candy for Zeus. And Percy has to find this chalice that's been missing, he says, for like centuries. And they end up going to this other goddess's like arcade where she has to always be like the youngest person in the room. And then there's the god of getting older. He's like this old man type of thing. And it's just like a setup for the rest of the series. Now, I know there's a second book. I think I'm going to read that in my next set. But I will say, you know, when the Percy Jackson series came out, I was like a preteen, I guess you could say. And now I feel like, I mean, the book was good, but I felt like if I would have read this, if this would have came out when I was younger, I would have enjoyed it more than now. I don't know why. That's just me. I think that's with like a lot of things. Like I feel like it's like, you know, books that you read when you were younger, and then you come back to them when you're older. I feel like you're like, why did I really read this series? You know what I mean? Or I can't believe I liked that type of genre, because now I don't like that type of genre, that kind of thing. But all in all, it was a good book. I really liked it. Like I said, it was a shorter book. Like I said, Annabeth's in it, Grover's in it, like the main cast is in it. And like I said, I have the second one. I really liked this one. Now, the next one, I think, is a bigger book. So last but not least, it's this book. This book, now the reason why I picked this book was because I really wanted to read a shorter book. But then I didn't want to read a mystery book. And the bag that I got most of these books out of, it's more mystery books than it is like, it's either mystery books or it's like thicker hardback books. And I already read 2 hardback books. And that mystery book that I just read, it was just okay. So I'm like, well, I really want to read another mystery book and it be not great. So this is called Polk, The Man Who Transformed the Presidency in America. It's by Walter R. Borneman. This is what it looks like. And basically, it's about President James K. Polk. Basically, it talks about a little bit about his early life and how he became the speaker in the House of Representatives. And then it talks about how he lost the governorship twice. And then how in the beginning he was only supposed to be vice president. And then in a turn of events, he got to be president instead. And of course, like, there's the war that went on with Mexico, like the Alamo stuff around that time. And it was an okay book. It did have a flow to it. Usually when I read these books, if it doesn't have a flow to it, it's kind of like, you know, it takes you forever to read. This book, it was okay. It was just like, I couldn't read a lot in a day. You know, like, I had to take breaks from this book. Some chapters were short, some chapters were long. This is a book where, like, if you read, like, you look, because there's only 22 chapters plus a prologue, an epilogue, and I think an introduction. It is a book where when you look to see where the chapter ends, you're like, oh, like, that's a short chapter, I can finish this. And it takes you, like, a whole hour or an hour and a half to read it, because goes from the page to the bottom page. So, guys, next time with another video, and hope you guys have a wonderful day.